everybody. Keith here. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Want to remind everybody, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. There's a PayPal link down there for anybody that wants to share some love. Always appreciated. And the StreamYard link is there for anybody that wants to join the panel. And we got John with us again tonight. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing good, Wizard. Good to be here.
Good deal, good deal. Now, we're going to talk about direct deposit tonight as it relates to that automated clearinghouse, ACH. They are already set up for that. And we're also going to take a look at 12 USC 1813 and 12 CFR 204.2 as it relates to the very definition of deposit. So let's get into it. And the first thing we're going to look at is direct deposit from Investopedia. And it says, direct deposit, what is it, or what it is, how it works, benefits and risks. The term direct deposit refers to the deposit of funds electronically into a bank account rather than through a physical paper check. Now, despite what it says here, you can do this without a bank, okay? Rather than through a physical paper check. Direct deposits require the use of an electronic network that allows deposits to take place between banks. This network is called the automated clearinghouse. If you understand that correctly, it's the electronic network that allows deposits. This network is called the automated clearinghouse. It's what I've been saying for quite a while. It's an electronic book entry system where they take the definitive documentation and put it into an electronic system that places a value on it through timestamps and security certificates to each of those keystrokes. So when they take a paper check and they enter it in as a deposit in the bank system and they enter it in electronically, that is an electronic book entry, and it is now a direct deposit because it's in the direct deposit system.
So it can replace a check, right, Keith?
Correct. It says because the funds are transferred electronically, recipients' accounts are credited automatically. So there is no need to wait for the money to clear. Common uses for direct deposit includes paychecks, tax refunds, and other benefits. And we'll get into this here after we read this next part. Direct deposit, this is key takeaways. Direct deposit is the deposit of funds electronically into a bank account rather than through a physical paper check. So as you said, it can replace a check. It requires the use of an electronic network that allows deposits to take place between banks called the automated clearinghouse. Payees must provide the payer with their banking information or a void check in order to receive direct deposit payments. Salaries, tax funds, investment redemptions, and government benefits are commonly paid through direct deposit. Now, these last two are important. This is the investment redemptions from the courts using your data elements in their court registry investment system, and you have the right to be redeemed or redemption. And government benefits, and that's for in the situation with my companion. If you've recently been paying attention, they took some funds from her last year directly out of her bank account for a fraudulent third-party debt collection. We couldn't find anybody that wants to take responsibility for their part in due care of making sure that the record they hold is holding integrity. And none of them wants to do that, take that responsibility, liability, obligation, whatever. So we found out that you can get a direct deposit for those funds. And so we just cleared the bank account out, and anybody can come after it all they want. They can no longer get it because it's no longer attached to a bank account. So we'll talk about that. And before we do, I got a few other things. The next one is, well, let's go back here. How direct deposit works. Direct deposit is a safe and convenient way to receive payment. Funds are deposited into a recipient's account directly through an electronic network. In order for the funds to be transferred from the payer, the recipient must provide the name of their bank, their account number, and the bank's routing number to the person or business making the deposit. And like I said, through a government benefit, you don't have to do a bank account. They will give you what's called a direct express card that is not tied to a bank account of any sort. Kind of just like the bank or the PayPal card I've got, and I don't have a bank account. And they're trying to insist that I have to get a bank account, and it works just fine as long as certain parameters are met. So I'm willing to deal with that parameter at the moment. And in the meantime, when they try to impress that they can hold funds that somebody else electronically deposited, that is a false statement. And that's part of the problem with getting any other links for PayPal as far as friends and family donations. I'm kind of limited on that because of their assertion that they can withhold payments when they can't. That's the only issue I have with PayPal at the moment. Anyway, it says, alternatively, they may provide a voided check, which has the same information printed on it. It can take a few days for direct deposit to be set up. Once the depositor has the information, they enter it into their banking system. Okay, I want to ask, are you the depositor? If it says once the depositor has the information, they enter it into their banking system. Are you the depositor? Pay attention. Funds are transferred electronically and are deposited into the recipient's account at midnight on the payment date. Since the funds clear automatically through the ACH, they are available immediately. So there's no need for the bank to put a hold on them. So again, when I say somebody using friends and family making a donation from their bank account to this account, even though there's no bank attached to it, it's an automated clearinghouse system. And PayPal has no right to interfere with that. I don't care what their policy says. This method is commonly used to transfer employee salary, tax refunds, investment redemptions, payments from retirement accounts, and government benefits like Social Security. Bill payments are also made using direct deposits from debtors to creditors. For instance, taxpayers have the option to receive their funds in the form of a personal check or through a direct deposit. So you can see how you can set up your bills for a direct deposit from one account to another. Being the account that's already established and has those credits in them, it would be the Social Security account and not a bank account. It is still a financial account in the hands of a financial institution. Otherwise, they would not keep track of the fiscal or monetary or credit amounts. So let's go to the next one. And stop me anytime, John, if you see anything.
Yeah, the HCH goes back to the mid-70s. Did you know that, Keith? As a clearing system, I think, for payments. That's when it
Yeah,
started.
that's when it started, and then by 2006 they established the electronic record system, and that's what I've been saying. Once I found that, it was all over because everything's an electronic record. That means it is, in fact, for historical purposes, as a matter of keeping record of it in a form that can't be destroyed or is much harder to destroy and will last a lot longer, such as on crystal memory devices. There's a greater value to that now. So they can enter all the information through this electronic record, like I said, with timestamps that are then securitized in a blockchain. That's what we're talking about, the process, the routing, the blockchaining. So redemption, definition in finance and business. Remember that United States citizen is a United States business. And it says, what is redemption? Depending on the context, the term redemption has different uses in the finance and business world. In finance, redemption refers to the payment of any fixed income security at or before the asset's maturity date. Bonds are the most common type of fixed income security, but others include certificates of deposits, treasury notes, and preferred shares. Another use of the term redemption is in the context of coupons and gift cards, which consumers may redeem for product services. Now remember, folks, the very term credit card means any card, plate, coupon book, or other credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. In finance, as far as key takeaways, redemption describes the repayment of a fixed income security, such as a treasury note, certificate of deposit, or bond, on or before its maturity date. Mutual fund investors. Remember, that's that local municipal bonding that's going on because you claim resident. Mutual fund investors can request redemptions for all or part of their shares from their fund manager. Having the birth certificate is one of those things, and like we've said before in previous videos, we discussed the indemnification, and that's what redemption is, indemnification. Commanding officer caused issue to be issued, wherein I've got a bond with in certificated form, certifying by seal under 2 seals with 2 signatures that I can then surrender to the United States before its maturity date, and then of course grant unto her double what she gave me. So whatever the total debt is, I can double that as a gift to the United States for taking care of business. And of course, as a finder's fee, I get a percentage of it. Salvage. Mutual fund investors can request redemptions for all the part of their shares from their fund manager. Redemption may trigger capital gains or losses for the investor. The investor's taxation on capital gains will be reduced by any capital losses recognized in the same year. That's if they can prove that you were actually an investor and that you can still carry forth as an investor. But once we find out the impossibility upon which the investments were already made, we can now divest. So let's take a look at the next one. Anything on that, John?
No, not on that, Keith.
All right. So the next one is at 12. Oops, let's go to the other one. Let's go to this other one first. The codification, 12 U.S. code, which is the codification, whereas the CFR is the Code of Federal Regulations. So this is like the contract terms and conditions. And then the regulatory part would be the enforcements, and they would have finite definitions and limitations and penalties and things like that. So down here under 12 USC 1813, we go down, we take a look at the term deposit under I believe it's L, lowercase l. The term deposit means the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent. And the money or its equivalent. What is the equivalent? The equivalent is the documentation supported by affidavit or testamentary statements with a, like a statement of intent and certification and all that. Bonding instrument, all that, all attached. The unpaid balance of money or its equivalent that would place that documentation has actual value equivalent to that of money. Received or held by a bank or saving association in the usual course of business, and for which it has given or is obligated to give credit. One way or another, it is the exchange of money. The paper documentation in exchange is obligated to give or has given credit. In other words, they have to take that documentation and enter it into the electronic record and give it credence, and give it credence as if it is true in fact, which it does. In fact, it's true as posed until properly rebutted. Go ahead, John.
So it's just a bookkeeping credit then?
Correct.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just a bookkeeping credit. So it's a credit on their side for them keeping the books. But there's no equal consideration from its point of origin, which is you. Either conditionally or unconditionally to a commercial, checking, savings, time, or thrift account. Are you the account? Nope. They're not supposed to give it to you. They're supposed to give it to the account. So again, it says that we're not supposed to be filing anything except against the account. That's where everything's held. Or which is evidenced by its certificate of deposit, thrift certificate, investment certificate, certificate of indebtedness or other similar name, or a check or draft drawn against a deposit account. So a check or draft drawn is the same thing as a certificate, which is part of the element of qualifying a valid account. And certified by the bank or savings association or a letter of credit or a traveler's check on which the bank or savings association is primarily liable, provided that without limiting the generality of the term money or its equivalent, any such account or instrument, that's the certificate, must be regarded as evidencing the receipt of the equivalent of money when credited or issued in exchange for checks or drafts or for a promissory note, upon which the person obtaining any such credit or instrument is primarily or secondarily liable. In order to take on a secondary liability, you have to be equal consideration, equal benefit in a contract, sharing the liabilities, much like a limited liability corporation. Or, and this is why they established that United States citizen, or for a charge against a deposit account, or for a charge against a deposit account. If the deposit account is already set up in the electronic form and is connected to the original electronic account, that Social Security account, in all cases, they want you to use the Social Security number to establish these accounts. Or in settlement of checks, drafts, or other instruments forwarded to such bank or savings association for collection. It doesn't say where these other instruments forwarded to such bank or savings associations for collection can come from. If I happen to be a holder of such an instrument, can I too not forward it to such bank or savings association for collection? Now, what if I don't have that bank, like I said? I do have an account, but it's with the Postal Pro Online services as an enterprise payment systems account. Established, not yet funded, because we're still trying to get everybody to accept the concept of this ACH as a direct deposit. Anything on that, John?
Well, the DTC is electronic too, Keith. This could be why the systems are already set up, right?
Well, yeah, that's what I said.
Linked up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said. They've been thinking about this for a long time. And remember, folks, these people plan usually decades ahead. So, like the New Deal back in the 30s, they were planning for the generations of the late 70s, early 80s, mid 80s, and early 90s coming up to be a new societal mechanism that they could use through that indoctrination system, through many other mechanisms. They've been planning this stuff for a long time. And in that era, when the computers started coming about, that was when they started diligently transferring everybody's thoughts to doing everything electronically. It is advantageous, but you have to know how it's done so you can protect yourself. Otherwise, other people are going to take advantage of it, and you're not going to get that automatic clearinghouse transaction like you're supposed to. You're not going to get the credits like you're supposed to. They're going to keep charging you for the monies on the one side, and you're going to keep trying to give them Federal Reserve notes and stuff, and it's never going to count. They're never going to draw down that debt. They're always going to pose it as you're the debtor, not the creditor, and that you don't know what you're doing. And that's the problem. Again, the true benefit is knowledge. So let's look at the next one, which is the regulation, like I said, banks and banking, Federal Reserve System, reserve requirements of depository institutions. Not you, but of depository institutions. For purposes of this part, the following definitions apply unless otherwise specified. Deposit means, again, the unpaid balance of money or its equivalent received or held by a depository institution. The other one was received or held by a bank or savings association in the usual course of business, and for which it has given or is obligated to give credit, either conditionally or unconditionally, to an account, including interest credited, or which is evidenced by an instrument on which the depository institution is primarily liable. And then they end it. So this is identical to the first part of the other one, with the exception they use banks and banks and bank or savings associations instead of depository institution.
Or bank and trust. Remember that old term?
Yep. So let's take a look at the next one now. As I spoke about the PayPal card, it's not the only one that you can do as direct deposit without a bank account, as I'm proving. Even though they say PayPal, you have to have a bank account. I'm proving you don't. They cannot shut the account down just because there's no bank account. They cannot interfere with ACH. So it says direct deposit without a bank account, alternative solutions. Like I pointed out with my companion, the alternative solution is the federal government for Social Security benefits and stuff. They have a card called Direct Express, and you can get that and shut down your bank account, and it goes directly to your card, and you can use it for everything.
And they just started that 2 years ago, right, Keith?
I believe so. And it says direct deposit is a convenient and efficient way to receive payments, whether it be from your employer or from government benefits. However, some people don't have bank accounts, and this can make it difficult to take advantage of direct deposit. Fortunately, there are alternative solutions that allow you to receive direct deposit without a bank account. Alternatives to banks and credit unions. Prepaid debit cards. One popular alternative to having a checking account at a bank or credit union is a prepaid debit card. Notice they said checking account specifically, because again, it wasn't the savings account or anything that was associated with a obligation to give credit or an automated credit or automated clearinghouse, but the checking. It replaced a check. These cards work just like a regular debit card, but they are not linked to a traditional bank account. Instead, they are funded by the user, either through a one-time deposit or through recurring deposits, just like PayPal and others, which we'll talk about here. Many prepaid debit cards also offer direct deposit capabilities, allowing you to receive your paychecks or government benefits directly onto the card. This can be a convenient option for those without a bank account, as it eliminates the need to cash a check or visit a physical location to pick up a check. Then it says, check out the best prepaid cards of 2024. Mobile wallets. Now, interestingly enough, like I said, a credit card or a debit card is a card or other credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. You now see the formation of technology coming through where you don't even need a credit card. You can do it on a mobile wallet on your phone or device. A device. A credit device used to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. Does that make sense, John? Do you comprehend that?
Well, not totally, because I'm not really up to date with all the, all the technology. But
well, if you know that there's a technology out there that allows you to do all of your banking transactions without actually having a bank account or a card, and you can simply do it on your mobile device, would that not make your mobile device a credit device?
Yeah, well, yeah.
And that's what we're talking about, folks. Everything you do is actually an intangible credit. Everything you think is an intangible credit. And if you put it into this system, it can't provide, even in a debt-based system, any kind of credit unless it comes from you. So let's take a look at it. It says another alternative solution for receiving direct deposit without a bank account is a mobile wallet. These digital wallets allow users to store money and make payments using their smartphone. Some mobile wallets, this is why they're trying to help people learn how to make their own blockchain coins. Okay? It's a digital wallet where you can make your own money payments and everything, but it's through a credit system. Everything's through a credit system. Some mobile wallets, such as Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo, also offer direct deposit capabilities. To receive direct deposit through a mobile wallet, you will need to provide your employer or government agency with your mobile wallet's routing and account number. That mobile wallet on your phone, remember that phone, that phone number, that's an international device. That's an international security instrument. It's an international credit device. It's an international accounting device. Be very wary of what you're using them for. Once they have this information, they will be able to deposit funds directly into your mobile wallet. Neobanks are fintech companies that provide cutting-edge apps, software, and technology to make mobile and online banking more efficient. These online-only banks often focus on specific financial products, such as checking and savings accounts. They typically offer more flexibility and transparency compared to traditional large banks, despite sometimes partnering with them to ensure their offerings. See, just because PayPal partners with Bank of America, NA, as a partner doesn't mean they can interfere with the ACH. That's ultimately still the responsibility of their partner bank, because PayPal is merely a holding company and not the bank itself.
So
Same with these other things. And see, that's the importance of what I was talking about with the credit union. If you get an account there as a trust account, and the basic concept is that you're not operating as a standalone bank. Go ahead, John.
so PayPal is like the Federal Reserve of digital money, in a sense. It's trying to look like the official.
Well, yeah, it's trying to act like it's got that authority and power, and it's not. It doesn't have any power except that which is granted to them by that partner bank and the partner card company, which is MasterCard and Visa. They can't go around using their PayPal policies to violate banking laws, Bank America policy, or MasterCard or Visa policy. Those are all three superior policies and contracts to PayPal, which is a mere holding company. They truly can't direct anything. So the next one says top 7 alternatives for direct deposit without a traditional bank account. They've got Chime, Current, which is a fintech, one of those fintech companies, Cash App, Venmo, Bluebird by American Express, and I'll explain the difference here. These other cards using Visa and MasterCard as their partnerships, whereas Bluebird by American Express, that partnership doesn't have certain qualifications, so they don't get the same treatment through the Postal Service, which is one of the things I point out about the receipts, and you get a receipt that says US debit. I'll point that out here in a little bit. Brink's prepaid MasterCard, so again, there's a MasterCard contract. NetSpend Visa prepaid card, again, another. MasterCard and Visa have specific treatments that we're going to go over. Of course, you can get a direct deposit without a bank. How can I get paid if I don't have a bank account? Can I use someone else's bank account for direct deposit? Most banks will not authorize a direct deposit if the name on the deposit does not match the account owner's name. However, some banks may allow it if you have routing number and account number of the recipient. So if I have the routing number and account number of my companion's account, I can have my funds routed to her account in direct deposit. Does that make sense? Now, once it's routed to her account, and again, it's in that state account held by that direct deposit card, which I don't see any reason why they wouldn't allow that, then that makes those funds untouchable by the courts as well. Because it's not, again, see, it's not connected to a bank account. Although my PayPal account is already not connected to a PayPal or a bank account. Therefore, it's already not touchable. Does that make sense, John?
So it's you're kind of like stripping the credits away from the cap's name in a sense, right, Keith?
Well, not necessarily stripping them away, but protecting them. Understand, the PayPal account also is titled the Keith Orland Little FBU account, and then under the Enterprise Payment System account that I told you I established, it's the Keith Orland Little FBU Trust account.
Oh, okay.
And that,
So it's just, yeah.
right, and the Keith, and those are effects of the estate of Keith. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
And Keith is totally private. He doesn't have to express his estate. He can give you certain elements saying that he qualifies as a creditor, and here's the accounting information. You can't deal with that through the proper channels, which is called due course. Then I guess we can't contract. It proves the impossibility in the beginning of people that don't come with clean hands. So the next one is the direct deposit that I was talking about with my companion. And this is the site. The link is down in the details section, so anybody can click on it and get further information on it. It's got how, or home, enroll now, about, go direct, partners, paying agencies, frequently asked questions, tools, and resources. But under this here, it says still getting paper checks. I would replace this. Are the administrative courts still able to come get your money out of the bank account, despite the fact that it's your Social Security, disability, and income benefits? Are the banks still allowing this? And that's because the banks are following up on the fraud that the courts are following up on, that these third-party debt collectors are committing, because they've suffered no loss. They bought an old account that was charged off once it was secured with the original creditor, and then charged off through the IRS. Then they bought that account information, and they're trying to use that accounting against you. And they're using the courts and the banks to do this.
Yeah, and courts aren't supposed to let attorneys chase debts. I don't think they're qualified.
No, they're not supposed to be posing that anybody else has an obligation or security of the United States except the United States. Legal tender for all debts, public and private. HDR 192. Public Law 7310. This is a credit system, and the people, or the government only gets its credit from the full faith of the people. That's where the full faith extends. That's what the gold clause is all about. They have to recognize that without the gold, for a private man to make a contract and demand payment in a certain amount of gold, when they nixed that, then they knew that they too couldn't do the same thing, and therefore they were dependent on the exact same faith that man has to have in another man in order to go forth in contract and trust that that other man will give him the equal consideration, the equal benefit, without causing a detriment. In other words, things are settled now and nobody's in debt. That's the debt-based system. It makes you believe that there's a debt, and there's a time span where you got to pay it off. No, you're supposed to come with clean hands and settle things right from the start. That way you don't have this big mess to clean up at the end.
That's why they have the 30-year mortgage, to get around the gold clause.
Yep. And so, are you still receiving Social Security, VA, or other federal benefits by paper check, or even if it's an electronic deposit in a bank account? Even if you already have it set up as an electronic deposit, but it's being deposited in a bank account or credit union, and those administrative courts from third-party debt collectors are still able to come in and take money from you that you are dependent upon for your existence in your old age, so that you can live as long as possible and have a good life after you work your ass off all your life? Not going to happen anymore. If so, You are out of compliance with the law. Oops. See, they're trying to get rid of the paper bills, Paperwork Reduction Act, and therefore if you're getting federal benefits, that's supposed to be an electronic payment, an automated clearing house process. It's automatic. Remember the ID, the receipt I showed you? It says U.S. debit, and then there's a number on it that says AID. It's automated identification system. It's supposed to go right through. Bingo, immediately. They don't need to check your visual ID, do they? You ever get a credit card or a debit card that's got a picture on it? No. Why do you suppose that is? Why do you suppose that once you stick that sucker in that machine, press a couple numbers, and all of a sudden, do, approved? Why do you think it happens so quickly? It was cleared automatically in-house. You ever heard of on the house? In-house. Are you playing with house chips? The U.S. Department of the Treasury requires federal benefit payments to be made electronically. Electronic funds transfers, which are what, John?
Those were the replaces the checks.
Right, and the check is what? Guaranteed?
Yeah.
So an electronic funds transfer is a guarantee. That's why they happen automatically. Why do you think you have problems with these people sending in paper documents and making directives to the Treasury and this and that for automated clearinghouse, and it's not happening? Because they're not giving them the right directive to enter it into the electronic system pursuant to certain routing and account information. Remember the Social Security number? That's the routing number. The number on the back, that's the account number related to the Federal Reserve that controls that individual account within its district. It's automated. That's the automated number.
But
so
isn't the back number the reserve routing number? I got that mixed up then.
Well, it's the automated number, right? It's the routing number on the front is your personal routing number. The other one is another routing number saying it routes through this specific Federal Reserve Bank for this district. It routes it through there. From there, it goes to the IMF, which is the credit, wherein that's where all the nation's leaders of the UN, 193 of them, go forth in a postal congress and deposit in the IMF a TIS, a tax of their gross domestic product for that year. And the U.S. pays that gross domestic product tax as a loan for several other countries. So as a loan, the United States goes forth and pays that tax to the IMF. And so they retain an equity in the credit for those other nations. Yet that equity comes directly from the people.
Wow. Interesting.
Through direct deposit to a bank or credit union account or to the Direct Express debit MasterCard card. So it's a MasterCard. They call it a debit card, but we're going to talk about that because it's a card used as a credit device to obtain money, property, labor, or services on credit. Because again, remember folks, that PayPal card I've got says debit on it, but the account already has credits that were electronically transferred as those funds. Electronic funds transfer, and they were transferred. The funds are credits, and they sit there as credits, right? So if I use them as credits, but the card says debit, why do I get a receipt that comes back not only as debit, but as U.S. debit instead of Keith Little debit? And if it's a credit, why doesn't it say Keith Little credit? Therefore, balancing it out to zero. Instead, it poses a debt to the United States is still being maintained on an account somewhere. So in the interest of the United States and on the account of the United States, I hereby surrender these receipts issued by a commanding officer somewhere that will allow the owner, the spoliated owner, to receive indemnification. So let's take a look at it. First, we have the enterprise payment system that I told you about that I have already an account set up. This is U.S. Postal Service, registered agent, Postal Pro, trademarked, online account system, known as the Enterprise Payment System. And it says the Enterprise Payment System, EPS, allows customers to pay for products and services through an enterprise payment account funded as an automated clearinghouse, ACH, debit, or trust account. So you can fund it as an automated clearinghouse trust account or an automated clearinghouse debit account. The EPS payment account management provides enhanced security features, centralized balance and account management, and a self-service customer experience. Sign up today to the USPS Business Customer Gateway. This is where we're going to transfer the title of that United States business through correction of the records. So it's known that the beneficiary is deemed to be the true owner and has settled and revoked the public side, and now those credits belong on the private side. And this is actually establishing a merchant account. And they will give you a MID and a CRID, a merchant identification number and a certified registration ID number, saying that as a merchant with that ID number, you are certified on their registry. And that's the Postal Service, folks. This is where you put that title in their name and assign them as trustee for those accounts, for the automated credits or automated clearinghouse in the trust account name. Does that connect some dots there for you, John? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that clears that up a little. I was a little foggy about how that would work, you know.
Yeah. So we see that the Postal Service actually operates just like a bank, don't they? So let's take a look at that MasterCard Visa debit card. And I mentioned this as a prelude in the meeting in the stream last night, as a prelude to tonight's video. And here we are again. Again, it's the United States Postal Service as the registered agent up here. How can we help? What forms of payment are accepted? Customer information, click to pay, PayPal, Apple Pay, forms of payment online and at retail. You know, so when we talk about online, that's an automated clearing right there. Forms of payment not accepted on USPS.com. Checks, money orders, and traveler's cashier checks. PayPal. Exception. Remember, I've been talking about those exceptions, right? PayPal can be used to complete the postal store transactions and to purchase click and ship labels only. That's in contradiction here. I'm going to show you why. Virtual MasterCard registered. The virtual MasterCard is distributed by PayPal. It does not have a 3-digit verification number as there is no physical card. And this is where you use your virtual device, right? Making this form of payment unsatisfactory. Gift cards. Huh? You see the contradiction there? They don't accept checks, money orders, travelers, cashier's checks, all these things that are already guaranteed. Forms of payment accepted on the postal store: Visa, MasterCard, Discover, American Express. Debit cards are accepted if a PIN is not required. If a PIN is not required. Yeah, do they accept, do they have you put that card in there and then enter your PIN? Click to pay. PayPal, limited click and ship and postal store. Apple Pay. Select forms of payment accepted on USPS.com. This is accepted on postalstore.com, and this is accepted on UPS.com or USPS.com. Forms of payment accepted at all retail. This is when you walk into the store. Right? U.S. currency and coins, checks made payable to the U.S. Postal Service or to Postmaster, title only, for the exact amount of the transaction, see exclusions. Money orders, postal and non-postal, when presented with valid photo ID. Traveler's cashier check only when at least 50% of the face value is used to purchase Postal Service products or services. What do you use the other 50% for? Question this stuff, folks. Credit cards, see exclusions. Debit cards, see exclusions. Contactless payments, subject to credit card exclusions and debit card exclusions. Okay. Can I use debit cards at retail? Debit cards are accepted for all services except passport fees to the State Department. Debit cards may be used to pay the USPS processing fee, and cash back allowed in $10 increments up to $50. If a checking or debit card has a Visa or MasterCard logo on it, then it should be treated like a regular credit card. What do you think, John?
No, I think when I go into an old post office, it feels like a bank. You know, they got a big counter. They got the pens right in front of the teller.
Well, yeah, and so if you go into a bank or any other financial institution or bank or savings association, anything like, don't you think they should all be the law is uniform throughout all jurisdictions. So if the Postal Service says that if it's a checking or debit card has a Visa or MasterCard logo on it, then it should be treated like a regular credit card. And they're the ones that have the judicial officer department making these judicial determinations. Don't you think the banks would have to do, and the stores would have to do, and the other retail associations at retail, like Walmart and Menards and Lowe's and all those, would also have to do the same thing?
Well, yeah.
I mean, isn't that debit card the same thing as a credit card? And it's used to obtain those monies, properties, labors, or services on credit because there's already credit there, and that's the expectation in common language that if the credit's already there, you want to use credit and not money. And if you're using credit, how can they then turn around and charge you money? See, that's the fallacy of getting that receipt, folks, that says U.S. debit. Look at those receipts every time you use that card at a store, a gas station, anywhere, and get that receipt. Go to the local movies and get that receipt. Go to the local restaurant and get that receipt. Go to the local grocery store, get that receipt. See if it doesn't say U.S. debit on there. Use that credit card in your name. Use that debit card in your name. Use that check card in your name. And see if it doesn't come back with U.S. debit, no matter what, across the board. That tells me that something somewhere along that line, despite the fact that it's supposed to be an automatic clearing house, that something's not being cleared. And that's clear because it still presents as a U.S. debit. And I think that's the part that most people are missing, and that's the part that needs to be fixed. Again, that's that Libra Code Article 58, I believe, or the 38, where the spoliated owner may obtain indemnity by that receipt. That's by surrendering it to the United States to settle the obligation, making all persons whole, and for the person making the same, so that no person shall be held liable in any court. That's the redemption, the indemnification. I think that's clear. What do you think, John?
So, like the ACH on the receipts, you're saying that it's they're not completing their end of the deal. Is that what you're kind of saying? When you see the U.S. debit, it shouldn't say any debit. There should be none, right?
Correct. If it's an electronic transfer and it's a transfer of credits as a direct deposit from a banking institution to another banking institution, where they are obligated to give credit, then why do they give a cash receipt that says U.S. debit? And it even has an AID number on it saying it's an automated ID.
Okay, got it.
Something is not right with the receipt if it says that it's an automated clearinghouse so that the credits are transferred. It's telling you the credit is transferred. So why do you get a receipt that says debit? It should automatically clear out to zero. It doesn't. Somewhere along the line, it's coming up as a debit still. Shouldn't. By the language. Right. By the language, it says they're obligated to give credit. Then why did they give debit? It says right on it, debit. Surrender it to the United States. Every quarter, save up all your receipts, tally them up, make your official document, send it off to the Bureau of Fiscal Services and Treasury so that they can settle the account and return the credits. Those credits are supposed to come back to you.
So save them up quarterly, send them in, maybe batch them in with the 1099, right?
Yep. 1099-C, cancellation of debt. It says there's a debt. Cancel the debt. And you don't have to do the 1099-C. You can just give the directive by a draw or draft letter of credit. That's basically what your letter of credit is. It's a directive. You're going to give a directive. Let me see if I've got something here. I think I wrote something up as it relates to this. Let's see here.
Was this for that directive? Does that include the spoliated owner? Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes, spoliated owner, which means spoiled. Same thing. Okay. 50 USC 4305. You guys remember that one, do you at all, John? 50 U.S. Code 4305 as it relates to the Trading with the Enemy Act. And I just briefly mentioned a portion of it where there's no person shall be held liable in any court. And that's based on this here. Suspension of provisions of relating to ally of enemy, regulation of transactions in foreign exchange of gold or silver, property transfers, vested interest. Remember the investment interest where you have to now we're going to divest them. Enforcement and penalties. And we go down to B2 and it says any payment, conveyance, transfer, assignment, or delivery of property or interest therein made to or for the account of the United States, or is otherwise directed pursuant to this subdivision or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder, shall, to the extent thereof, be a full acquittance and discharge, basically the same context of redemption and indemnification, just different language for it, for all purposes of the obligation of the person making the same, and no person shall be held liable in any court for or in respect to anything done or omitted in good faith in connection with the administration of or in pursuance of and in reliance on this subdivision or any rule, regulation, instruction, or direction issued hereunder. So if I have receipts that saying it's a U.S. debit, then I have a conveyance or transfer of an interest therein that tells me that somebody created a debt against the United States. So I should surrender it to and for the account of the United States so that I'm not caught in possession of a debt of the United States. Hereunder and shall to the extent be a full acquittance and discharge for all purposes of the obligation of the person making the same. That way they can't hold me liable either. This is the dismissal of liability, not just for myself, but for them. So again, under redemption and indemnification, this is full acquittance and discharge. It's the same thing as equal immunities. Same thing, folks. Got to learn how to come to peace with the terms. Show them they're their terms. These are your terms you set forth, not mine. I'm showing you what you agreed to. I'm agreeing that those are the terms that should be, so that no person shall be held liable in any court, because we've all been making mutual mistakes. It's time to grow up, learn from our mistakes, and stop with this insanity of doing the exact same thing repeatedly over and over again and getting the same damn results of fucking debt. You really want to help the United States come out of debt, you have to help understand, you have to come to the understanding of what that debt is and what your part in it is. Your part in it is to be able to understand how to make sure that the direct deposits are there and followed according to their laws. Again, it's like this metaversal platform that we're on. You have to be very careful of what you're saying and doing. Coin your words or purse your lips, because anybody can use them against you. If you're saying things of value that can destroy them, they can put that value in there and hold it against you. So no matter what kind of words, terms, and conditions you're using or how, people can make value out of them, and that's what you have to be careful of. Are they injurious values where somebody can come after you, or are they gracious values that other people can take advantage of and have that credit returned back to you? That's what we're looking at. Anyway, you got anything on the way out tonight, John?
No, I'm all set. Good show.
That helped clear some things up as far as how this credit system works, as far as direct deposit, You were spot on when you mentioned the 1970s, and that's when the computer system started being developed, and they went from that binary code on and off switches. That's what your routing numbers are. If your routing number starts with a 1, it's not automatic. If it starts with a 0, it's automatic. Look at all those check stubs. See if it doesn't tell you that it starts out with a 0, because that portion of it's automatic. What about the rest of the routing numbers? Somewhere in there comes a dismissal or a sidetracking where somebody loses control and it doesn't get cleared properly, so that it returns back to the one that actually put that credit in there. That's that enumeration at birth.
Yeah, well, we had some automated clearing for John Harnick tonight.
Good deal. Good deal. All right. Well, with that, folks, you know me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. And that's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That's on you. So may God bless you and have a good night. We'll see you again next time. Please hit the like, share, and subscribe button, and possibly hit that PayPal link. Share some love. Always appreciated. Bye now.